So you asked for it. We recorded our last episode together and the feedback was amazing. It actually blew me away how positive the feedback was. And there's been so many questions that have come through when we asked, what is it that you'd like Lauren and myself to be able to answer in episode number 2, which also seems like there will be 3+ coming from. So today I think it would be amazing for us to be able to cover what our kind of morning dates, what our kind of like how Lauren and I date each other, how we keep our relationship and our marriage strong, conscious parenting. A lot of questions have come through about mindfulness, traveling, discipline, and other things coming conscious parenting. Where our sense of home is, which is actually really interesting. Are we going to return back to Australia? Because obviously we've been living in Bali now for 9 years. Expenses of living in Bali. What have been the realities of actually me? Oh, actually, was some big news as well, which we'll cover maybe in the last point. What our routines are for a strong relationship, our sex life. What has been the reason why our relationship gets better and better after 10 years of marriage, and what's in the future for us from today as well. So maybe I think it's important because this will be airing soon after it becomes public that I have actually sold my coaching company, and this is a huge change of a chapter for us as a family. And I think it's nearly 10 years to the day of us actually recording this. That was when we found out that, Lauren, you were pregnant. And then I also found out 3 days later that I had the opportunity, which eventually did take us to live and work in Dubai, which then got us down the road. But how do you feel after the last time we recorded together?
I feel great. We had so much good feedback and so many great questions, and I feel like it's the first time I've done anything like this, but for you, I think people are seeing a different side of you. Yeah, the Chris that I know and love. Very cool. And it does feel very significant this month, September. 10 years, September 2012 was when we found out our life was going to change in so many ways. And I don't think, like I like to think we've been conscious and we've been intentional with what's happened, but in some ways it has felt like we've been falling forward. And so, it feels very final this month.
For me, I've been saying, obviously, like every single night, Lauren and I sit down and we have we've been going to bed at between 7:40 p.m. and 8:15. 8:15. Yeah, I think every single night. Yeah. And also, I'm sleeping in Alu's bed, our 9-year-old's bed, because you're sleep training Noah at the moment. So we decided for me to sleep in a different bedroom so that I could get good sleep.
Well, that's something we can talk about as well, is it's our relationship chapters.
Well, let's talk about that now. Let's go straight into that one question. Like, what is our chapter of our marriage and our life right now?
So we have been together for 18 years. We've been married for almost 11, and we have a 9, 6, 3 and 8-month-old. And this last baby has been the most humbling for me, and I don't want to say it's been the hardest, it's just been the most different experience. And in a lot of ways, I think our relationship has gotten so much stronger, and we've gotten really good at knowing the different chapters that we're in and just accepting. A lot of it is accepting and surrendering to it, and knowing that, okay, for the moment, we're not sleeping in the same bedroom. We are going to bed at 8 o'clock at night. We haven't done a single date night in almost 9 months. And for a lot of people, I think I see them just like want to return back to what their life was like before a baby. But then when you're on your 4th, you realize there is no returning. You're just constantly changing. Right now we're not sleeping in the same bedroom. You're sleeping with Arlo, our eldest. I'm sleeping with Noah. We are doing some sleep, I would like to use the word correcting. Before Noah, I was the person that thought you either are a responsive co-sleeping parent, or you are like hard sleep training, baby's crying, it's very intense. And this has just helped me to learn that there's different ways of doing it. And we've been working on sleep, which we'll get into later. But I think this chapter for our relationship has been, and especially with the sale of the business and just so many things coming to an end and also to a new beginning, it's been quite exciting, but also very mundane.
So I think it would be really cool for you to explain why Noah's birth and her coming into this world has been a curveball that maybe has been an interesting part for you, and then obviously I can speak to myself then.
I think the biggest thing, like you have 3 kids and you think, I've got this, and you have 3 children and you think you know it all and you've had all these different experiences, and you are prepared for different, because I think when you have one child, you've only had one experience. And we often joke about it's easy to be the perfect parent when you have one child, and I'm sure that will probably ruffle some feathers, but it is. And then you have your second child and you think, oh wow, this is different. Like, okay, there's these things that I learned the first time that I'm going to do differently. This child responds differently to the way that I parent, and you learn that they have different temperaments. And then the third one comes along and you think like, whoa, okay, now I've really got this. Like, I can do anything. And I was flying around the world and so independent. And I think that's the thing with our relationship, is I, until very recently, have been so fiercely independent, and so able to carry it all. And then, with Noah being born, her birth was incredible. The pregnancy was incredible. The immediate postpartum was incredible. And then it just, all of a sudden I felt the load of having 4 children. And I hadn't felt that before. And I think I hadn't ever felt that. And I don't want this to come off the wrong way, but I'd never felt that motherhood was hard before. I'd never felt like it was something that I wasn't good at, or it was this a heaviness. And I think I felt that for the first time this year.
Well, I just want to say, like, I'm so admirable of how you've showed up. You're an amazing mum. I'm so blessed that you are the mother to our children.
Thank you.
I think it's also pretty cool that Noah coming into the world was almost like this tap on the shoulder to be like, yo, you two are going to have a different experience, and also the testing of it. And I think that growth has been really good for us as well. And also the surrendering to where we're at in this chapter. And I think as well, like, to the question of like understanding the chapters of the lives that we're going in. And for me, it's very much a case of like, this is such a huge 10-year chapter that so much has happened in the last 10 years. Like in the last 10 years, do you know what I mean? We've gone from just the 2 of us living in Manly, like newly married, kids, when I look back onto it, now having 4 children, living around the world. I've had doing different iterations of business, but now selling the company, and now literally by the time this comes out, like, I'm in such a new chapter of my life, like us being financially free, us really then actually questioning right now, which is for me, obviously you've watched me go through turmoil in the last few weeks of like, well, what is it that I want to do? Who am I? Do I want to be moving forward from here? And that's been tolling, but I think what's really cool is actually, and what I appreciate is like, we've been able to do this together as well, and your support has been really great. And especially what
so proud of you.
Well, I appreciate that, but I think also, I know I would have shared this in other pieces of content, but I'll bring it up again. It's like the night before that I signed for the business, I broke down I had suicidal ideation during the day and previously before it, and I was in a really dark space, and I was not a happy camper.
Yeah. That was really scary.
Yeah, but thankfully you, not in real life, but you slapped me across the face with some love, and I was able to see things from a different perspective, which then brought about the best scenario in everyone's case possible.
Yeah. And I think too, that's like different, like in our relationship, we really value our different roles, and something that we've been able to do for each other, and something you say to me often that you're grateful for is, I don't know how do you word it, but that I'm able to,
You don't give two shits about this.
I know, that's not the way.
It's pretty close.
That's not the way to say it. It's more like...
Keep me grounded.
I keep you very grounded, yes. Like, pull your head in. And,
so true.
But on that night, I've never felt that sadness and scaredness, I would say. For you, I could see how much you were struggling, and the weeks before that, the sort of downhill that you were on. And that was such a, like, there's been many moments in our life together where we've had these intense conversations that have changed everything, and that was one that we will remember definitely. And we did stay up past 8:15. We stayed up very late.
I think it was like 9:30.
No, it was later than that. But just like thinking, okay, we have this situation, and like, how do we fix it? What's the solution? And that's something you're able to do for me a lot, and I think, yeah, I was able to do that for you in that case.
So if we continue to talk about the chapter of the life we're in right now, I find it interesting because, like, one pivot, one change that we've made, which is what we've done this morning.
Yeah.
Well, I'll let you talk to it because I appreciate so much how much you
How much
enjoy
I love it.
Yeah.
So we, as I said before, we haven't had a date night in 8.5 months. And I also think there's this idea, like, you live in Bali, you're out at beach clubs and you've got the nanny, and like, it's not like that for us at all. It is for a lot of people, but not for us. And so we have been doing date mornings, which is us going to the sauna at 7 a.m. and doing our sauna and ice bath rotation, and then having a coffee on the grass after. And it just is, it's just the most life-giving, energy, upper love cup filler. It's just the best, isn't it?
It's amazing.
It's really good. And I have not had great sleep at all over the last 8.5 months, but on the nights where I know that we've got sauna the next morning together, I just am like, I don't even care. I'm so excited that we've got this date together. And I just love, I love us spending time together, and I love how much we love spending time together. Yeah.
I appreciate that. And I want us to share that because I think it's an important part of, like, understanding where in this chapter right now, we're like, we're not having date nights. Like, and to be perfectly honest, like, I put the big three girls to bed, Janine and I walk downstairs and I kind of like have my dinner, and that's like 7 p.m. You've put Noah down for sleep and you kind of walk out at like 7:15.
On a good night.
On a good night. So really we've got like from like 7:15 to like 8 p.m. That's like 45 minutes. And
then you go upstairs and go to sleep, and I stay downstairs.
But like, we're exhausted as well. Like, we enjoy spending that time together, but let's be perfectly honest, it's not quality time that we're really getting. So I love so much that we get like this hour and a half, a few mornings of the week where we can do something we get a lot out of. And
we are morning people as well. Like, we would be the people that would like to go to a club at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Quite literally.
Yeah.
But I think it's cool to, like, that we accepted it. That's the thing for me where
we're not forcing date nights when it's not happening. And we've found something that works for us in this chapter. And when our life does change again in 4 weeks, that won't be something that we can do.
Yes.
So we're just like filling up and making the most of it now.
Okay, so one of the questions that came through was a lot about conscious parenting. Mindfulness with kids, traveling with kids, and discipline with kids. You talk to traveling with kids, I want to talk to mindfulness with kids, and then we'll do discipline.
Okay.
How have you found traveling, especially because we recently did our first international travel? We went back to Australia for a month for just shenanigans and a trip, and as the first international travel as a family of 6. How do you think we went?
I think it was amazing, and we've done hundreds of international flights, and we've filled multiple children's passports and gotten new ones, and it's so, I mean, we travelled before we had kids, but not like this. Like we'd go on a holiday to Bali or Thailand once a year, and I think like travelling as in like preparation for the flight, being on the flight, transport, that sort of stuff. The last trip that we did, we were sort of like skidding out the door, throwing stuff in bags. It was not the most graceful, was it?
No, hang on. Lauren forgot twice. Has forgotten the baby carrier. And we've literally had to get one of our staff to, Lauren's called a staff member, and he's had to get the carrier from our house on a motorcycle and then like speed up to like literally like pass it through a car window before we got to the airport.
So I think preparation and packing and all of that, I guess I was out of practice on this last trip. I'm going to say that.
I think you did amazing.
I think it was just the getting to the airport. But in terms of traveling with kids, it's just our children know how to do it and what is expected and what you do on the plane and what you don't do on the plane. And I think they love it. They're always up for an adventure, and I love how they call any trip that we take an adventure. And I think just setting the expectations with them, and we haven't, sat them down and said, this is what you do and this is what you don't do. It's just the way that we...
But I think that's our parenting as well.
Yeah.
We have... That's what I want to talk to, especially when it comes to the discipline side of things. But I think for the travel, it's... We're always using the word adventure.
Yeah.
We never use the word holiday.
Yeah.
We don't really use the word travel. It's always adventure. But we can't like frame it around.
Yeah.
And then it's very much the case of, I want to talk about this and share this to the world because I want families and parents to know that you can do it. Like we get asked all the time, like, how do you do this with so many kids?
Yeah.
And it's like, well,
it's not a big deal.
It's not.
I think
it's only a big deal if you make it a big deal.
Yeah, and I think as well, like for me, apart from the last trip with the suitcases and stuff, but getting everyone ready and packed and out the door and on the plane and everything is not a big deal. No. And I think
I totally feel like we could go on a flight somewhere tonight.
Yeah, just totally.
Sweet.
And I think as well, because we are very minimal in our
what we have.
Possessions, and we know what is important to us and what is not, and we have like capsule wardrobes, and we have a couple of toys and things that the girls that they can all play with, and that's something else we could get into another time, is how minimal we are. But I think it's just very normal for us, and when we're not adventuring is abnormal.
Yep. And we're very routine based.
Yes.
Very.
Yeah. And that's the thing, we get to a location. So when we went to Australia, even though we are Australian, that was an adventure for us. And for the girls, they're they're Australian citizens, but they've lived in Bali and Dubai. And so for them, it's a completely different experience of how to live. And so we get there, we get to our location and we know, okay, we need to find our healthy food, our walking, we love walking, and a couple of things that we know we like to do as a family. We get you sorted with the gym.
Yeah.
There's just like check boxes that happen and we're really quick. It's like 2 days and we know our routine.
Yeah.
And we basically just do rinse and repeat.
Like our routine
Every day
back
for
in
30
Australia
days.
was, we'd do our morning thing, and then, but essentially it was, we go for a long walk, and then it was to a cafe.
I did my...
You did your workout
Yeah.
and your gym, and I had the girls having a coffee. You'd come from your workout, have a coffee and food at the cafe. We go for a walk back, stop at a park, girls play, and then
You'd go and walk, I'd stay out with them for the morning.
I do an hour or two of work, and then we'd have like the afternoon. I'd go to the gym, come back from the gym, and then we'd be out for the afternoon, walking, doing shenanigans, come home, have dinner, bath,
Yeah.
chill, put the girls to bed. We spend some time together, go to bed. Like,
Yeah. But I think too, as well, like for us, adventuring and being out in the world, we keep a really firm routine and rhythm. And I think people maybe have the idea that if you're going on a holiday or you're traveling, that it's the opposite, that you sort of let everything go out the window. But
I can't do that.
no. So the more rhythm you have in the day and the more, firm boundaries, everything just flows so much better, which I have been very resistant to, but I have
You have me.
come round.
Rhythm and rhyme.
Yes.
Mindfulness. What do you want to talk about mindfulness when it comes with?
I think we have 4 different children in front of us, and they have very different personalities and needs and temperaments and different ways that they receive love, and just having the time and space to see each of them for who they are. And that's something I think you do really well, is just accepting them for who they are in that moment in front of you. Yeah, I'd like to hear you talk about that.
Yeah, I think for me it's really interesting how that I don't want to take, I have 4 kids and so therefore I treat all 4 of them exactly the same. Like they're individual, and I want to honour their individualism and who they have showed up in this incarnation. And also they'll need different things at different times. During the week, you had some really great one-on-one time with Rumi, and she was just bubbling with love.
Overflowing,
She was just like the joyous, and I was like, she had that extra time with you, and look how amazed. But you've had an amazing week as a mother, which I think you should talk to about you accepting what's been happening as well, especially with the chapters and everything.
Yeah.
But for me, and kind of like to talk to the mindfulness side of things, like...
Talk about your evening routine with them when you put them to bed.
Well, I think the first thing is they see me meditate daily, frequently.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good thing, because it's just, they just see me doing it, and they know what Dad's doing when he's doing that. And then they've started to participate, and I did the Annika Harris's mindfulness for kids with Arlo and Sunny, which I think has just been amazing, and I highly recommend.
Yeah.
And then we've been able to like meditate together, and very frequently if they see me meditating, they'll come and sit on my lap or sit next to me, and I'll sense them next to me and I'll hold their hand, and we'll just have that. But then on top of that, I've fallen. I don't think I really consciously chose it. It's just kind of like how it came about, but I have kept it up now every single night. Instead of reading a story to them to put them to bed, I do a guided meditation for them, and I've enjoyed it so much. But what was really cool was then we found out that our eldest 2 daughters were actually doing guided meditations in their classes for their classmates.
Yeah.
and they were going through the same routines that I was taking them through at each night. So for me, it's always, we have 3 big, beautiful breaths, which is obviously just to kind of like ground into the now and into our bodies and into this moment. And then I take them through a bit of a riff. I always change it every single night, but there's always genuine themes of getting them to relax. I always want them to feel the love for themselves and proudness for themselves. And I also do like to come to the angle of talking to them. Like last night, I said, I want you to feel at peace with who you are, where the world is, and knowing that there's nothing to do, there's nothing to change, there's nothing to think about, there's nothing to plan for, there's nothing to worry about. Everything is just the way it needs to be right now. And I want to go back to that sense of peace, equanimity, love for what is right now, and
safety.
Safety, absolutely, like a strong foundation for them, especially before going to sleep, to go through. So I think that's amazing, because then I see what they're able to do with their awareness and presence on a day-to-day level, like them knowing what their emotions are and them being able to communicate, I've got big feelings.
Yeah, that's something they're really good at.
I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, big, like coming up to us and saying, I've got really big feelings, I need a cuddle.
Yeah.
Or I've got big feelings, I need you to sit with me.
Yeah.
Or can you read to me, I'm feeling sad.
Yeah. And even I was like, I just need to spend some time by myself.
Yeah.
And then being able to give her that space and her communicating what she needs.
Or even if she says to me sometimes, once you've put Noah to bed, can you come up and see me? And then I'll go up there for 10 minutes and she'll just download, and then that's all that's needed.
What about discipline?
I don't feel like we've ever really disciplined, because we've set the expectations and the boundaries from the get-go. Do you agree? I find discipline a funny word when it comes to parenting. And it came up so many times in the questions, discipline.
Look, for me, I think it's just a case of I don't tolerate things I don't want to tolerate, and standards and values as a family.
Yeah.
And so I want to ensure that we're living by the expectations, standards, and values that are important to each of us as a family.
Yeah.
And they know when they cross that boundary, but that's their job as well, is to push those boundaries and go beyond the boundaries to then learn where the boundary is. But it's, discipline's a funny word when I think of discipline for myself, but discipline for my children, I'm like, no,
discipline as in self-discipline.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not as in disciplining our children.
Yes.
I think too, they know when, and we can talk about it and say, hey, when you did whatever, how did you feel about that? And they'll often say, oh, I'm really sorry, or that was, I did that because I was feeling this, or they're very
good at ensuring they have the space to work through the emotion, and like allowing the emotion and then letting the emotion work through. And I never want to, and we never want to tell them that feeling anything is a bad thing, or to get them to stop feeling a certain thing. Like I want them to be able to feel it. Yeah.
I think that's something, especially with Sunny.
Yeah.
She has very big feelings in every spectrum. Like she feels joy to, like, her name is Sunny. She's just like Sunny. But she feels things, and on the beach yesterday, she got really frightened because she was doing cartwheels and just being Sunny, and then this dog appeared and was barking and wanting to play with her, but she had such a fright. And I went over to her and I didn't say, it's okay, like stop. It was just, it's saying that was really scary and that must have frightened you. I'm here with you. I'm going to stay with you. The puppy wanted to play with you. He didn't want to hurt you. I'm here. And how do you feel? And like shake. And I said, shake it out. And then when she was ready, she just then kept cartwheeling and kept going through it. But I think it's taken practice to not. I used to get so triggered by her emotional outbursts and the way she. Well, they all, but her, the way she would.
Why do you think
respond.
You got triggered?
I think I was told as a child. Well, I was told by one parent, not directly but indirectly, children should be seen and not heard, and then I was also. It was expected that I would be happy, I think, all the time, and then if I wasn't, it was like, you're okay, like quick, don't feel it, just get back to happy. And so I was never given the space to just
see. I think it's really
go
cool
through the
that
tunnel.
you can answer that, and you're like, "Hey, I was getting triggered," because we talked through that at the moment. Because I was like, "Why are you freaking out?" And you're like, "I'm getting triggered." And I'm like, "Well, why do you think you're getting triggered?" And it was like, "Well, you're getting triggered because you were treated a certain way as a child," and I think that's cool how you cut the cord. Of that.
But it has taken practice of not, like my immediate response would be, you're okay, it's okay, dismiss. But it's like, no, that was scary, you must feel frightened, like naming the things, explaining then what happened.
But you give her the space to go through it as well, which I think is the important part. It's not trying to just like squash the whole thing and solve it in the moment immediately as well.
I read this really great article I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago about children going through the tunnel, and just imagine their big feelings as a train going through a tunnel, and you can't do anything to speed it up. All you need to do is just be there with them. You don't even need to talk. You just need to be there. Your body needs to be there, and you need to be present. But that's helped me so much, and we'll often say to each other, just wait for the tunnel, just let her go through the tunnel, to help each other.
It's a good reminder.
Yeah,
really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, a lot of questions have come through when it comes about like living in Bali, expenses of living in Bali, our sense of home, will we return to Australia? Let's talk to that.
So I really liked, there was a question that came through, and the way it was worded was, where is your sense of home?
Yeah.
And that has been, I feel like I could write many books on home and our search for home, and also our ability to make home in condensed amounts of time in lots of different locations. So I actually counted, and we've lived in 11 different homes in our 11 years of marriage.
Wow.
And that doesn't include all of the adventures we've been on, Airbnbs, hotels, house swaps, all of that. So we've actually made home 11 times. And
which, can I just say, is a pattern that I don't want to continue.
Yeah, so we've been talking a lot about our almost addiction, that's not the right word, habit,
routine, pattern.
Yeah, our pattern of moving. And we've talked a lot about how this next move that we have coming up is really, we need to take a breath, we need to ground down, we need to get intimate with our new location and community, and just sink in. And we've been very transient and nomadic over the last 10 years, and as amazing as it's been, and we have connections all over the world and culturally and everything, we just need a chapter of grounding.
Yeah, for me it's interesting knowing that we're going to be leaving here and moving on to this next chapter, there's such a bittersweet feeling of, like, I have two Ben and James amazing friends that I just love and would take a bullet for, but it was just like I was messaging with like Nick and Mel yesterday that I love and adore, and I'm so looking forward to being able to nurture that relationship and spend time with them, and so many others as well. Like, it's to think of the community that we're about to walk into as well. I'm like, I feel so blessed that that's there, and also how we've talked so much about community and friendships is so much of that equation or ingredients that makes a home.
Yeah.
And
I think
to do that.
Something I've struggled with here too is that it is such a transient place, and people do come and go, and we've been here for such a long time, and we see people come in, we see them have their big starry eyes and Bali honeymoon, you know, and they love it and they're here for it, and then Bali will give them a few. Well,
I had a conversation yesterday, and he's been chewed up. Yeah, Bali. Yeah.
So there's a term that we say, being Bali'd, and it's basically the island will, whatever it is you have going on in your life. So if it's we see lots of relationships fail here. We see lots of people separate here. Businesses, people come here to work on their online business down the gurgler. Like, it's just, it will speed up and give you lesson after lesson after lesson.
It's like a pressure cooker.
Until you work through it.
Yeah.
And so, on that, I think we're so grateful for this island and what it's given us, and it's been our home for almost 9 years, but it's time for us to close the chapter on here. And we'll always come back. Yeah. We'll always have a home here. 3 of the girls were born here. We've always got that connection.
Your business?
My business? Yeah. Well, do you want to wait until?
Yeah, well, maybe let's talk about one of the questions that came through is really wanting us to talk about, like, what are the realities of life? And I think I would love you to be able to share as well. Like, there will be the episode of Josh and I, which is essentially doing me selling the company, moving on, and so beautifully being able to pass that onwards. But I think there's an angle that I don't see getting shared, especially in the business world, or people I see is like, well, what has life been behind the scenes? Because you've had to put up with a lot of stuff for me as I've obviously gone through this period.
Yeah. I think having each other and being a team has just been such a blessing, and knowing our different roles at different times has helped immensely. And you being able to communicate to me and say, hey, I'm going to be going back to the office every afternoon for the next little bit. You're not going to see me very much, and I'm going to be picking up my phone a lot more, and just being able to communicate that to me, and so that the expectations are set, and I can not then like, stop picking up your phone, we never see you, why are you going to the office every afternoon? Like, just you being able to communicate to me has made it a lot easier. But it has been, and this is the thing no one talks about, and people think like overnight success. And it has not been, and it's been many sleepless nights and arguments and friction and stress, and we've made money, we've lost money, we've made money, we've lost money. Like, it's just been this, and that's the ride of business. But I think people don't talk about, as then a family, how you go through that together, because the pressure, I'm sure, that you have felt to be, and we made the decision 10 years ago that you were going to be the breadwinner, and it's been hard for me to accept my role at many times as mother, homemaker, and part of that has also been about being here in Bali. It's been such an honour to be with you and to be by your side, watching you build and, you know, things fail, things work, things, you know, and just making these decisions together. And it's been hard. It's been really hard.
It's been
and
extremely hard.
I don't even know how to talk about it because I feel like no one will know ever, which is incredible that no one will know ever apart from us, is how hard it has been.
I think if I want to make this as valuable as possible for you, and why I want us to actually talk about this is because the journey of an entrepreneur, and I wanted to succeed and achieve certain things, but not making compromises along the way. I wanted to be able to become financially free. I wanted to be able to build and sell a company. I wanted to be able to achieve these things, but I also was like, I still want to be an amazing father, an amazing husband. I want to take care of myself. Like, I don't want to make these compromises that we all see where it's like, oh, he climbed the ladder of success, but do you mean he's got 3 failed marriages, or he's out of shape, or he's, do you know what I mean, like
not connected with his
problem,
kids.
or all of these things. So I wanted to be able to keep myself whole.
Can you talk about your grading system?
Yeah, okay. So every day and every week, I grade myself on the 6 areas of life that I want to be conscious of. And that is, I grade myself as a father, as a husband, as a friend, as an entrepreneur, with my happiness and with my health. And so part of my morning routine is I literally journal and I answer one question. Today will be a win, when, and for each one of those 6 areas, I put an intention down.
And you're pretty specific too.
Yes, and it's always what's the effort thing or thing that I must be able to do. So it's always something that's in my locus of control. And at the end of the week, I rank myself for how I was able to go during the week for that, and I reflect, and I'll ask you frequently, and I was like, how would you rank me? 1 out of 10, can't use a 7 because 7's a cop-out number, as a husband, and you'll tell me, and it's great because I also think that's important because I don't want to be delusioned. I don't want Mara to be like, oh yeah, I've been a great husband this week, and you're like, no dude, like you totally flopped. Thankfully, that's never happened, but that's the goal of obviously needing some outside input into that as well. And I'll ask you, like, how am I being as a father? Like, am I showing up? Am I distracted? And so, perfectly honest, over the last couple of weeks, like I've said, I was like, I'm really distracted. And
you're there, but you're not there.
Yeah, my mind has just not 100% been there. I feel like a really shit dad right now. Like, I was feeling really bad about it because I had so much work stuff on my mind to be able to get this stuff done. And so for me, that grading system upon myself has been extremely useful because I very much felt the weight of not wanting to drop the ball in one of these key areas of life. And I think it's been one of the rituals that has ensured my success and fulfillment.
Yeah. I think too, there's some things that you're very good at that you don't even, like for example, your health and your body is something that is so, you don't even think about it. You just are in your ways and you're so disciplined with yourself and the standards that you hold yourself to. So things like health and body, they often will score very high
But I'm not putting.
But you're not putting any effort into it, and also because you've been doing it for so long.
Yeah.
I think people think you're in the gym, like looking at you, which I appreciate, but I'm sure a lot of other people
Can I just say something?
appreciate.
Because I said this, I go, I genuinely don't think. What did I say to you? It was not that long ago, and I was like, do you like how I look?
Yeah.
I said something along the lines, because like, you give me zero feedback or zero. No, it was a flaw on my side. I was looking for outside gratification for you.
Recognition.
Gratification, recognition. I was looking for that from you because I like don't get that from you at all. Which when I asked the question, I saw upon myself and I was like, why are you looking for outside gratification, recognition? But I think it's an interesting thing as well because I genuinely think you don't give two shits about it.
Well, I think because we've been together for such a long time and you didn't used to look like this, so
Well, to have these dividends paid off.
I know, like a fine wine.
Well, let's circle back. Let's talk about our sex life because these questions came up a lot as well.
Yeah.
I want to be really honest about when it comes to this as well. Maybe 10 months ago, I reckon it was a couple months before Noah was born, our sex life just stopped.
It went from being absolutely incredible.
It fell off a cliff.
And then it just stopped.
Like,
Well, I was 9 months pregnant with our fourth daughter.
yeah.
And it's, as I said, like during the whole pregnancy, it was incredible and we were very connected. And then as any pregnant woman knows, you just get to a point where it's like, okay.
But what I found interesting as well is like, this isn't my first rodeo. I knew exactly what was going on.
Yeah.
And I totally accepted it. I was like, okay, this is cool.
And you sort
I
of
get to
switched.
practice my semen retention even further. And I went for many, many months.
And you just sort of switched it off.
I did.
That-
I think it was a unconscious and a conscious me switching that off.
I think it was a biological thing as well, though.
Yeah.
We had so many children, your body was like,
Yeah. Like I just had zero sex drive. None whatsoever.
for many months.
Many months.
And I did not. It wasn't just you. It was both of us. And then
I'd rather read a book at that
or
time.
go to bed.
Or go to bed. Yeah.
And yeah, sleep deprivation, stress.
I was sleeping on the floor for the
Sleeping
first
on the
3
floor.
months once Noah was born.
Yeah, it's just. But we were so accepting and we talked about it a lot. It wasn't just like this thing that happened and then we were like, oh, don't acknowledge it. We were like, we're really not, it's just not something we want at the moment and we're fine with it because we've done this many times before. We know it's going to come back.
Yeah.
And I think also breastfeeding, like people don't know, but when you're exclusively breastfeeding, it's telling your body the hormones like shut down, don't in a reproductive way, like it's nature's contraception.
I might regret saying this, and hopefully I don't cut this out, but I physically was smaller during that time. My penis was smaller
Yes.
during that time.
Yeah.
And then it was like,
It was asleep.
yeah, it's like it went to sleep, thank you, Loz. And then when my sex drive came back, I was just like, holy hell, like doing like everything's come back with a force of nature. And that was really interesting for me and how I was just like, oh, like, yeah, like it's back online.
It is back online, but I'm not back online.
No, which is what I want to talk about.
Yeah, so there's been a couple of reconnections, but
which have been great.
It's been great, but your drive is much, much, much higher than mine, and it's not a problem, but it's just your needs need to be met, but my needs also need to be met. And so then it's fine. And I'm sure like any couple who are listening to this, if you have had children, would understand the ebbs and flows.
Again, I think it's just it's accepting the ride of life. Like, take your feet up out of the water and roll with where it's trying to take you. And there is just an element of accepting what is actually going on. And for me, it's been like, okay, I'm going to practice sex magic in a little bit of a different way now. Let's see what I can really be doing. And I know it'll come back. It's not like I'm worried about that.
I think it's also just getting back, like being intimate again in that way and getting back into the practice of it and the habit of it. And it can feel a little bit like fumbly and a little bit...
what do I do?
Yeah, or like...
Where does it go?
Especially, you know, as a woman when your body's changed and...
You're gorgeous.
Thank you, darling. And you've got a baby on the boob.
But to be perfectly honest as well, like during so much of that time, like my sex drive was low, but I was just not sexually attracted to you at all. Like I said that to you, like I saw it a little bit and I kind of held it back, but I was like, no, I've got to communicate this. And I communicated, I was like, what, man, like I remember saying, I feel like we're housemates.
Yeah, but you didn't even feel that it wasn't like you were feeling like that with me, but then out-coving on other women. You just felt like that.
100%.
In general. But now
I
everything
perv
works.
on you all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's the biggest thing that we need to work on.
So let's talk about final topic for this episode, and would love for you to comment, tell us, DM us, whatever, what we'd like for us to cover in the next episode as well, because I know we still have a lot to cover. Things we haven't covered is like money and investing, birth, other topics, so I'd love to hear from you. But for this last one, what's coming up in the future? What's rolling out for us right now?
So we have 2 weeks left until the final handover.
Correct. So by the time this comes out, this would have been done, but time of us sitting down.
Yeah, we have 4 weeks left in Bali, and we are so enthused and excited for this next chapter. Do you want to talk about what's coming, what we're doing?
Yeah, you talk about your side of things.
Okay.
Because that's exciting.
And I have been I've sort of had this idea circling for quite a long time, but to create a brand of homes, a collection of homes. Some people like to collect shoes. I like to collect homes. A collection of homes around the world that we will share with families. And we know what it's like traveling as a family and how you have to compromise on so many things. For example, not having water filtration or not being able to pull out the Wi-Fi at night, having, non-family, toddler-friendly, pools with no fences and all of that
cleaning
stuff.
Products.
Natural
food.
Cleaning products, Where do you get your organic food from? Having babysitters that you can trust, all of that stuff. And so my brand is called Roam Homes, and we're starting with 3 properties. So we have 2 in Bali and 1 in Australia. And we'll be booking them through Airbnb. And as soon as I opened it up and set the intention, and I'd love to talk about feng shui as well, maybe on another episode, but
you're amazing.
I did some corrections and some works of magic, and in here as well, the office.
Yeah.
I'll get to that in a second. And set the intention and opened it up, and the feedback has just been incredible, and we're getting bookings every day. And people are just saying thank you, this is incredible. I've been wanting to come to Bali, but every property is not, not family friendly, and it's just been really great.
What I love about it is we're actually solving our own problem, which is we want to be able to live around the world, have homes all around the world, and be able to be conscious, healthy, all those fun stuff. And for our homes to be able to match those values.
Yeah.
And what I think is really cool is now we can share that with so many other people as well. And I think I'm looking forward to the community that you're going to build from this, because I think there's just so many like-minded families and people that are going to be coming together for this. So I think that's really cool.
And I think as well, like we always say, we are the best referrers. If we have a good experience, we are the most loyal.
Yeah.
We will just refer until this person gets too busy that they can't
literally
do anything else. Because we like to share that.
Yeah.
And this community, and especially over the last few years, I think people have changed their lifestyles so much, and people don't want to just be in the one place, and lots of people do want to go and experience living in wherever for a month, or maybe they are making a move and having like a safe landing place to ground and catch their breath, and then find their longer term accommodation. And it's really exciting.
Where do people go to find out more?
Instagram. I guess by the time this comes out, I would have started. So I will start. So it's just rome.homes, and I'm sure there'll be links and things from there.
Yeah. That's very exciting.
Yeah. What's happening for you?
Well, by the time this comes out, I am no longer CEO and owner of the coaching company. My main focus is actually really learning and sharing, and I want to talk about the things that I want to talk about. So that's really branded around Christopher Dufey, and I am intrigued to see where that comes from. I've gone to seek lots of counsel and advice from a lot of people, of great successful entrepreneurs and that have exited businesses, and I've asked them, what's your advice for me? And so many of them have said, like, this is a time of sabbatical after this, whether it's 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, wherever. So I've got some ideas about what I want to be able to do professionally. My main focus is really, I just want to have great conversations with amazing people. I want to talk about, it's me mastering and learning the topics that I want to, which essentially is me learning and living a good life, and then being able to share what are those principles, what are those things, what is it that we do on a daily basis to make that happen. Because
you are very well rounded, and that's the thing. I think the life pie, you've done such an incredible job.
I have had so many people say my humility is a problem, which is not a humble thing to say. But I feel like I'm getting much better of sitting in my worth and being like, no, like I have an amazing marriage with an incredible woman. I'm a father of 4 daughters, and I have great relationships with those. I'm great at business. I'm able to, and I've built and sold a company. Like, we've created financial freedom. I love the way I look and feel and perform each and every day. Like, the big pillars of life that I've wanted to focus on that I think are important. I have great friendships and relationships. I actually think I'm doing really good. And I find it hard to say that because I don't want to sound like a douche. But
that's
I
the
know,
Australian thing.
Yeah, it is, and I do have to clear that out.
Yeah.
But I think I'm doing really good, and I want to go deeper into that, and I want to help others do that as well. So, because for me, look, I was overweight. I learned to lose weight. I became a personal trainer. I ran a shitty personal training business. I learned to run a good personal training business. I help other people do that. And now this big chapter for me, and especially after going through, which we haven't really talked about, but like me going through this transition in life and going from prince to king, and me coming through the tunnel right now, it's been very interesting where I'm like, oh, I can really go into the things that I really want to be able to move into. And there is a very different person on this other side that was not that long ago. So I've gone through a huge transition that I think I still need to do a little bit going more through before I can really talk about it. So it's actually like valuable and practical.
Yeah. But for us as well, like being by your side going through that transition, I can see where a lot of marriages and relationships
Hugely.
would split.
I questioned everything. I questioned our marriage. I questioned who I wanted to be. I remember standing in the gym one day for like 2-3 minutes, just standing there being like, do I want to do this anymore? Like, do I want to become a fat, average looking, do you know what I mean? And I was just like, I questioned everything. And so I think it's important to actually do that, to consciously choose who are you going to be and how you show up in the world. And they're not fun questions. It's very taxing having to go through that. But I would like to say, as a man, this is a transition that many will go through. I've had great male role models, friends, mentors that have helped me through this as well. And especially that book, Death of a Hero, Birth of a Soul, was something that just spoke to me.
I've never seen you doggy so many.
The
book is
incredible.
Yeah, well loved.
Yeah.
Well worn.
Yeah, I want to go back through it again. And so this next chapter for me is...
I think for any woman who's listening, I feel like that book is the equivalent of The Women Who Run with the Wolves for women. I think it's,
Yeah.
So if you're a woman listening to this, it's a great book for your man.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the equivalent to.
I agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree. There was that other book as well, Keys to the Kingdom. That was a good book to get started into with this stuff as well. But anyway, I want to talk about more of the chapter. I think especially with what I do with my podcast and YouTube channel is me talking about this and simply documenting as I go through this as well, so that you can have the help, insights, and if anything, knowing that someone else is fumbling their way, trying to consciously move their way forward in the right direction as well. I know I'm not perfect. I'm flawed, and I'm wanting to do my best in all areas. And hopefully what I put down, you can pick up to do what you do.
What you're going through as well. It's not coming from a teaching perspective or a guru or a...
I think that's a big case of like where my positioning and where I want to come from moving forward from here is just simply a case of I'm just sorting my own stuff out. Like I've got nothing to sell you.
Yeah.
And
for
that's
the first time.
Yeah, and that's so freeing. That's so freeing. Like, that's...
It's really cool.
It is really cool.
There's no pressure.
There is no pressure. I appreciate you, Lauren. I love you with all of my heart. Thank you for sitting down with me again and doing this as well. I would love for you to be able to comment below, send us a DM, something or other. Please get in touch with us and let us know what you would love us to be able to cover in the next episodes. As I said, a couple of big things like birthing, our money investing. These are topics that we haven't touched yet, that still a lot of questions have come through from. If you have liked this, do you know what I mean? Hit a like button, share it. I would love for you to really be able to share this with someone that you think this would actually be truly valuable to. When we came together before this, we were like, we want to be as open and honest and as vulnerable as possible so that we can just help.
Yeah.
I think that's the case as well. I don't want to be in a world where everyone's trying to put their best foot forward, not showing the things that can help others. And so I really appreciate you for being here.
I appreciate it.